In the advertising world, whether it came out of old roles or not, working art directors and writers working together is a hugely important thing, and I see art directors that are good, but they're not really firing on all cylinders because they're maybe not getting along well with their copywriter or vice versa. And I think in my case, working with Michael Canning, there's been a very prolific relationship purely because he's not me and I'm not him. It actually works well in the fact that things that I don't see, he sees, and that sort of works really, really well. It's been about 3 years I think we've been working together, and I think one of the secrets to why we've been prolific has been the fact that when you kind of feel like you're not quite getting it, when the other person's able to fill in those gaps and keep things moving, it means that you limit the amount of downtime. And from a point of view of being a creative, it's very hard to just be on all the time. It's probably one of the challenging things about the job is, go to work 9 to 6 if you're lucky, and then go home, but make sure you get all the ideas in that time. That's pretty hard to do, but that's one of the things I do like about the partnership is that if you're having a slow month, if that other person's helping you out, then the work doesn't suffer. Yeah, Canon photo change is one of those things that really came out of the love of photography. It wasn't so much the brief on the piece of paper, it was the fact that myself and the people I work with, my copywriter Michael Canning, and those that created the program with us, just loved photography, and I think along the way that love grew more and more. The concept really came from something we were doing with professional photographers actually and our involvement with them, and wanting to be able to have one professional photographer say to another professional photographer, I admire your work. And we were looking at ways to doing that, and somewhere along the path it became more about the need of amateurs to have that. When you take a photograph, it's an incredibly individual pursuit. One person usually walks around with a camera, unless you're at the professional level. It's very much about that. But on the flip side of that, it's immediately about going, look what I took, look what I took. This is, tell me I'm brilliant. This is look what I found. So photography, while as an individual's pursuit, is incredibly social. And so the concept of photo change was something that came out of the idea of how do we get people inspiring each other. And one way to do that is through challenging each other with photography. And it was just sort of fell out of a whole lot of things that we were doing, that one way to do that was to present a photograph and then be able to challenge your friend to say, oh, how about you take this photograph as the brief or as the inspiration for your photograph. And that's effectively where the vernacular came in of a chain, and that's effectively how that came about. Whenever you're on a panel of judges, it's always interesting because you don't agree with everyone, and yet when the best work comes up, there's very rarely an argument. I think that's how you know you've got the right answers, or you've come to the right conclusions. And the difference between getting a bronze or silver or gold, I mean, it can be minute. You're sometimes on galleries or on juries rather, and you feel like, wow, if only that person knew how close they were. One of the things I enjoyed about being on the jury last year here was the diversity of the jury members. There's actually photographers themselves that see photography from a completely different point of view. They probably see the pain of actually having to create the work and the amount of effort that goes into everything. To creative directors from the advertising side of things, and even through across editorials, from news editorial, through to still life, cakes, and things like that. So it's very interesting when you're having a conversation about something with people that on a daily basis digest photography morning to night, yet what they're looking for is different. They're looking for photography to activate something different for them. So that's one of the things I find the most interesting. The Art Directors Club is probably one of the most interesting communities, award show, they're more than just the award show, the community that's built around it. Obviously it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, but it still holds true to what it was sort of set up to do, which is looking at the craft. A lot of shows have gone with the idea, their effectiveness, and while those things are hugely important, the Art Directors Club, what was built off, the premise that it was built off was much more about looking and holding the commercial arts to the same standard as the fine arts. And so it continues this day in the way the juries continue to look at the work is at that level of craft. It's an interesting time as we sort of go from very craft-based things from letterpress into now digital, and I think that it's one of the things that if the Art Directors Club can influence anything, it's going to be adding that craft into something that began in cold code. For me personally, the Art Directors Club is the show that I relate to mostly in the fact that it's about the fine art side of the commercial world.